In last couple of weeks, we learned that all the living beings have three equipments: the body, the mind, and the intellect. Now let's look at all the living beings around us and evaluate them on the level of advancement of their BMI equipment. First, the plants. So they have body and a minutely developed mind. For example, trees and plants, they move towards sunlight. Then we have animals. They have a body and mind, but they do not have intellect. They are not able to discriminate between right and wrong. And finally, we have human beings who have fully developed body, mind, and intellect equipments. And we use these for advancement of our quality of our living with fancy houses, fancy foods, and automobiles. We use our body and mind to interact with the world, and then we use intellect to make decisions. Now, for our intellect to work correctly, it needs the right data from our body and mind. If our mind is confused, intellect will misinterpret data and will make ineffective decisions. Now, we are what we are because of the caliber of our mind and intellect. And the caliber of the mind and intellect then depends on our innate tendencies. Our innate tendencies are called vasanas. Vasanas are also called unmanifest or deep-seated unexpressed desires. Now the vasanas or the impressions on our mind are created when we act with selfish motives. The ability of our mind or intellect to think and make the judgment is dependent on unmanifested vasanas or desires. Let's look at how the vasanas express themselves. Vasanas gathered from our past selfish actions march out in following sequence. Number one, it starts as a desiring thought in our intellect, a scheme that intellect devises to gain more worldly happiness. Step number two is an emotional thought in the mind causing agitation that disturbs the mind. Finally, as a third step, the desire overcomes the mind and body acts it into fulfilling the desire, however good or bad it may be. This is the cycle of expression of unmanifest desire or vasanas, starting from the desiring thought to agitated mind to the final expression of the desire in action. Enough of this theoretical talk. Let's look at some examples. Now, vasanas can be good or bad. For example, if I have tendency or vasana for music, I'll listen to music, I'll associate with friends who like music and gravitate where the music is playing. If I have vasana for doing charity, I'll tend to find charitable activities to take part in. I have vasana for reading. No matter what, I'll look for books to read and read any and every book that can get my hands on. Now, some examples of bad vasanas are I may have vasana for money, and so to gain money, if I cannot use legal means, I may resort to illegal means if the urge is so powerful. Same for the vasana for drinking alcohol. If I have that, my mind and body will overcome the intellect and find ways to get alcohol and fulfill that vasana. Also, some people have vasana for being lazy and procrastinating on things. These are the examples of bad vasanas. Now, Bhagwan Shankaracharya has defined vasanas in three categories in Viveka Chudamani. They are: first is the Loka vasana or the social urges. Now, this type of vasana is the desire for appreciation, praise, and recognition from our peers in the society. Next up is the Deha vasana or the physical body desires. For example, desire to eat, sleep, and desire to exercise and remain fit. So these are all the physical vasanas. And surprisingly, the third one is called Shastra Vasana or urge to learn. Now this learning vasana applies to both material and spiritual knowledge. Now this vasana can be good or bad. Now if we keep on learning but do not apply the knowledge for the betterment of society, then it is not very useful. So learning is a good vasana but can be bad if you keep on learning but do not apply the knowledge for betterment of society. One important conclusion we can derive is individual vasanas define individual personality. Similarly, the combined vasanas of the community define community. And so does the combined vasana of a nation defines the nation. And so through individual perfection and by removing or reducing our vasanas, we can achieve community, national and world perfection. Now we learnt a lot about vasanas and how they cloud our true nature. The question then is how to get rid of vasanas. Now vasanas come from selfish actions. So number one, we should try to reduce our selfish actions. And for number two, since the vasanas manifest with the help of our BMI equipment, we need to develop deep knowledge to move our understanding and identification from body, mind and intellect to true nature, the identification with the Atman or the Brahman. This will help reduce or eliminate our vasanas. Also, there is a third way we can reduce our vasanas. We can do that by reducing our attachment to the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. That will also help reduce vasanas.